The ultrasound room was cold, not hospital cold. Cold like the air itself was warning me something was about to die in there. The machine hummed softly while the nurse rubbed gel over my stomach, and I tried to smile. Because this was supposed to be a happy moment. My first baby, my first real chance at a family, and my husband Ryan stood beside me with his hand resting on the back of my chair like a perfect supportive husband. But the second the screen lit up, the doctor's face changed. Not confusion, not surprise, fear. He stared at the monitor like he had seen a ghost. Then he turned to me, grabbed my wrist with a grip so tight it actually hurt, and whispered, "Don't sign anything. Not a single paper. Not from him. Not from his family." I stopped breathing. My husband blinked, smiling politely, as if nothing happened. But the doctor wasn't done. He leaned closer and whispered again, slower this time, "If you want your baby to live, don't sign." My throat went dry. I wanted to ask what he meant. I wanted to scream. But then the doctor stepped back and loudly said, like a normal professional, "Everything looks great. Congratulations." Ryan exhaled with relief. He kissed my forehead, and in that moment, I realized something that made my blood run cold. Ryan had no idea the doctor had warned me, which meant the doctor was warning me about Ryan, and I didn't understand why, not yet, but I was about to, because 2 hours later, I would receive a sealed envelope with my name on it, and inside it there was one sentence that changed everything. "Your pregnancy is not an accident. It's a plan." Let me take you back a little. My name is Ava Hart. I'm 36 years old, and for most of my life, I was the kind of woman people underestimated. Not because I was weak, but because I was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes people think you don't notice things. But I notice everything. I work as a compliance analyst at a mid-sized financial firm. Not glamorous, not flashy. But I'm good at one thing most people aren't, following paper trails. And the irony? That skill is exactly what saved my life. And my baby's. Because the truth about my husband Ryan wasn't hidden in emotions, it was hidden in documents, signatures, and evidence, the kind of evidence most women never think to look for until it's too late. I met Ryan at a fundraiser dinner, the kind of event where people pretend they care as long as someone important is watching. Ryan was charming, confident, wearing a suit that looked expensive but not too expensive, the perfect balance between successful and approachable. I wasn't even supposed to be there. My boss had begged me last minute, "Ava, please, just show up, smile, look human." So I did, and Ryan singled me out like I was the only person in the room who mattered. He asked me what I did for work. When I said compliance, he laughed and said, "So basically you catch liars." I joked back, "Only the stupid ones." And he looked at me like I was fascinating. He said he'd never met a woman who spoke like that. He made me feel seen. And when Ryan makes you feel seen, it feels like warmth, but sometimes warmth is just a fire getting ready to burn you. I married Ryan after 2 years. Everything looked perfect, but there was one thing I should have taken seriously earlier. His mother, Margaret Wells, the kind of woman who never raises her voice, because she doesn't need to. She had that quiet, rich cruelty, the kind that says sweetheart like an insult. From day one, Margaret treated me like a temporary mistake. Every compliment came with a blade attached. "Oh, Ava, you're so simple." Ryan must find that refreshing. Or, "You cook? That's adorable." Ryan's father never let me near a stove. We had staff, plural. But Margaret didn't hate me because I was poor. She hated me because I wasn't controllable, because Ryan looked at me with a softness he never showed her. And Margaret couldn't stand not being the center of his world. When I got pregnant, Ryan cried, actual tears. He held me like I was something sacred. He promised me, "We're going to build the perfect family." Margaret reacted differently. She smiled, but her eyes didn't smile. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "Good. Now you'll do what's best for this family." I laughed awkwardly, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. 2 days later, she called Ryan. And after that call, he changed. Not obviously, just subtly, Like a man who started following instructions, Ryan began handling everything: my appointments, my medication, my diet. He insisted on driving me everywhere. He said it was protective, but protection can look a lot like control. Then one night I woke up at 2:40 a.m. and I saw Ryan standing by the bedroom doorway, just watching me. I blinked. He didn't move. I whispered, "Ryan?" He smiled like I caught him daydreaming, "Just making sure you're okay." His voice was calm, too calm, and I remember thinking, why would I not be okay, unless he expected something to happen. 3 weeks later, we were in that ultrasound room. That's where everything began. The doctor on duty was Dr. Luis Navarro, mid-40s, professional, quiet. He started like normal, measurements, heartbeat, and then he froze. His hands stopped moving, his eyes narrowed at the monitor. He leaned in closer, reading something that wasn't on my face. It was on the screen. Then he looked at Ryan, and for a split second, I saw hatred in his eyes, quick, controlled, but real. And then he turned to me, grabbed my wrist, and whispered, "Don't sign anything." And right behind him, the nurse looked like she wanted to cry. Ryan asked casually, "Everything okay?" Dr. Navarro smiled. "Perfect." But the way his hand trembled as he removed his gloves told me the truth. It wasn't perfect. It was dangerous. 2 hours later, Ryan handed me a folder. He called it just some insurance paperwork. He smiled the whole time, too cheerful. He said, "My mom's lawyer got it all ready to make life easier." I opened the folder. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just insurance. It was an updated will, a power of attorney, a medical decision authorization, and a property transfer addendum. And the worst part? Ryan already signed. Margaret already signed. All that was missing was me. Ryan tapped the page lightly with his finger. "Just sign. It's routine." I looked at him, and I heard Dr. Navarro's voice in my head like a siren. "Don't sign anything." So I smiled back, and I lied. I said, "Of course, I'll sign tonight. I just want to read it first." Ryan's jaw tightened for a second. Then he smiled again. "Sure, baby, whatever you need," but I saw it. That tiny crack, that flash of annoyance, like I wasn't obeying the script. That night, Ryan fell asleep early. I waited. Then I opened the folder again. And I read every line, because when you work compliance, you learn something important. People don't hide crimes in words. They hide crimes in fine print. And there it was, a clause, a medical clause. It said, if I was deemed mentally unstable due to pregnancy complications, Ryan would become the sole legal decision-maker over my medical care. And the babies, and if anything happened to me, my assets would be transferred into a trust managed by Margaret Wells, not Ryan, not our child, Margaret. My hand started shaking. I opened my laptop and started searching Margaret's lawyer, Whitfield and Kane Family Law Group. Then I searched Ryan's business filings, and then I found something that made my skin go cold. Ryan had started a second company 6 months ago, a company I had never heard of, and in the financial record, there was a name listed as co-owner, not me, not his mother, a woman named Brianna Cross. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. Ryan kissed me goodbye, and the second he left, I drove straight to the hospital. I needed to speak to Dr. Navarro alone, but when I asked for him, the receptionist hesitated. Then she whispered, "He's not on duty today." I blinked. I had just seen him yesterday. She lowered her voice. "He asked not to be scheduled with you again." That hit me like a punch. Because now I knew he wasn't just warning me, he was afraid. And if a doctor is afraid of your husband is not the man you married. So I did the only thing I could do. I went to the security office, and I asked a simple question. "Can I request the footage from yesterday's ultrasound hallway?" The guard said, "We don't give footage unless there's an incident." I smiled. There was an incident, and I told him. The doctor grabbed my wrist hard enough to leave a bruise. "I want it documented." The guard didn't argue. He just nodded and handed me a form that required a signature, and I almost laughed at the irony because I wasn't signing anything anymore without reading every word. I signed, and I requested it. 2 days later, I received an email, hospital security, subject, footage request approved. I opened the video, and my heart stopped, because it didn't just show the doctor warning me, it showed something behind me, something I hadn't seen. While I was focused on the screen, Ryan had quietly pulled something from his pocket and slipped it into my purse. The angle was clear. He did it smoothly, like practice, like a man planting something. Then, right after, Margaret walked into the hallway and spoke to Ryan, and there was no sound. But the camera caught something worse. Margaret's lips forming 3 words. She signs today. Ryan nodded, like a soldier, and in that moment, I understood the truth. They weren't trying to protect me. They were trying to trap me. That same night, I found an envelope tucked under my car windshield wiper. No stamp, no name, just Ava. Inside, 1 sentence. Your pregnancy is not an accident. It's a plan. And a USB drive. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped it. I ran inside, locked the door, plugged it into my laptop, and what I saw was a screen recording of someone logging into my medical portal from an IP address that wasn't mine. The person changed my medication list, changed my allergy list, changed my risk profile to make it look like I was unstable, and at the bottom, a name, the account holder, Ryan Wells, not Ryan Hart, Wells. His mother's last name. He never legally changed it back after marriage. He lied to me. Even his name was a lie. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry, because this wasn't a relationship problem anymore. This was a survival problem. I called my old mentor from compliance, a woman named Janine. She listened quietly. Then she said something that made me feel calm for the first time in days. Ava, if you have proof, you don't need fear. You need timing. So we created a plan, a revenge plan built on legal evidence, medical evidence, video evidence, and one final trap. The trap? Let Ryan believe I would sign, but not the papers he wanted. New papers, my papers. Margaret scheduled a family meeting at her house. Luxurious, cold, perfect. She greeted me with that smile again. Ryan sat beside her like a loyal son, and across the table sat their lawyer, Harold Whitfield, a man who smelled expensive and cruel. The folder was placed in front of me. The pen was placed in my hand. Margaret said softly, "Just sign, Ava. This is for the baby." Ryan squeezed my knee under the table. Not comfort, pressure. I smiled and said, "Of course." I opened the folder, and Whitfield froze, because this folder wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. I had switched it. Inside were documents prepared by Janine's legal team. And at the top was a single paper. Motion for protective order plus evidence submission. Whitfield's face drained of color. Margaret's smile vanished. Ryan frowned, and then Whitfield leaned toward Ryan and whispered 5 words. 5 words that made my husband's face go completely white. He whispered, "She has the security footage." Ryan's hand started shaking. Margaret stood up so fast her chair screeched, "You little!" But before she could finish, the front door opened and 2 police officers walked in, behind them. Dr. Navarro, and behind him, a hospital investigator. Margaret's voice cracked. "What is this?" And Dr. Navarro said calmly, "This is the consequence of what you tried to do." Everything unraveled fast. The evidence showed Ryan tampered with my medical profile. Ryan tried to force illegal medical authority over me. Ryan planted something in my purse, attempted framing. Margaret orchestrated the entire trust transfer. Their lawyer witnessed and facilitated it. They weren't building a family. They were building a trap. And I was supposed to die quietly inside it. But I didn't, because I listened, because I waited, because I didn't sign. Ryan was arrested for fraud and medical interference. Margaret wasn't arrested that day, but she was exposed. Her reputation, her precious reputation, collapsed in 1 hour. And the most beautiful part? She had to watch it happen, while I sat down calmly, held my stomach, and felt my baby kick, alive, safe, untouchable. Ryan stared at me as the police cuffed him, and he whispered, "You ruined me." I looked him dead in the eyes, and I whispered back, "No, Ryan, you ruined yourself. I just brought the evidence. People think revenge is screaming. It's not. Real revenge is quiet. Real revenge is calculated. Real revenge is backed by proof. And the truth always leaves evidence. And in the end, that evidence was the only thing that saved me. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe to The Final Evidence, because every lie leaves proof.